For more than 150 years, Trinity University has celebrated human inquiry. Our innovative curriculum is rooted in a distinctive blend of the liberal arts and sciences. Students and faculty hone creative curiosity by answering questions and questioning answers. In a supportive, interdisciplinary environment, they seek ways to build bridges and make connections. And with intentional meaning and purpose, they are driven by a sense of duty to themselves and to the world. Add in opportunities for undergraduate research, experiential learning, and nationally recognized pre-professional programs in business, communication, healthcare, education, and entrepreneurship, you get the full Trinity experience. The liberal arts plus. And while this experience may end with a Trinity degree, it's just the beginning of a lifetime of inspired exploration and perpetual discovery.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Southern Collegiate Athletic Conference and the NCAA promote good sportsmanship by student athletes, coaches, and spectators. Profanity, racial or sexist comments, or other intimidating actions directed at officials, student athletes, coaches, and team representatives, including singling out anyone by name, number, or position, are grounds for removal from the site of competition and other disciplinary action. Public intoxication, as well as the consumption and possession of alcoholic beverages and/or tobacco products is strictly prohibited. Persons throwing objects or participating in other acts in conflict with good sportsmanship and fair play are subject to ejection. Trinity also requires that you wear your mask indoors except while eating or drinking. Please do not use flash photography. Thank you for your cooperation in supporting the participants and officials in a positive manner. Before we announce the starting lineups for the Schreiner University Mountaineers, the Trinity University Tigers, to honor America, we ask that you please rise for our national anthem. Now the starting lineup for the Schreiner University Mountaineers. Number 11, a
Good evening, Tiger fans. We are live from CalGuard Gym at Trinity University in San Antonio, Texas, and we are ready for some more basketball. It has been a jam-packed week here in San Antonio, and we are so excited to have the Trinity women against the Schreiner Mountaineers. I'm Brian Yanselson. I'm joined by Luke Terry. And Luke, this Tiger team just continues to roll 17 wins in a row. And this past weekend, they swept through a conference doubleheader, in large part thanks to Haley Coleman.
Yeah, Brian, and Coleman was absolutely spectacular this past weekend, earning her second SCAC Player of the Week honor on the season. She averaged 14.5 points and 10 rebounds on just about 62% shooting. We saw her get off to a really, really hot start on Sunday against Austin College, and she was a focal point of the offense as everything just seemed to run through her for the majority of that game, and she was a big reason why the Tigers got out in front of the Roos early and were able to get the victory.
It was a blistering start for the Tigers. They got off to a 28-8 lead against the Roos, and there was no looking back. And they have a quick turnaround here, a matchup against Schreiner, a matchup tomorrow against TLU, and yet another home game on Saturday against Southwestern. But tonight they will take on a Mountaineers team that is coming into San Antonio with 3 consecutive victories. They are 8-4 in the SCAC, 11-10 overall. So it should be a fantastic matchup, the first time these two teams have faced each other this season. For the Trinity Tigers, a familiar starting 5. Ava Lemoncello, Maggie Robbins, Haley Coleman, Ashlyn Milton, and Maggie Shipley. For the visiting Mountaineers, Zay Pirtle, Gabby Ibarra, Andrea Salazar, Jocelyn Hernandez, and Demaria Miles. Both teams ready after introductions, and we are just about set for tip-off in San Antonio. Tigers, as of yesterday, the update from D3 Hoops, ranked number 20 in the nation, and you see that on your screen, going up from 24. So the national coaches recognizing what a great year it has been for the Tigers. We are officially underway here in San Antonio. Tip goes to the Mountaineers.
As we get started here, Brian, immediately we see a takeaway from this Tiger defense. So we look back on that game that we called on Sunday, such a huge part of the Tigers' victory. It was really the defensive pressure in this full court press that we see them setting up in now that established the tone of the game early. It didn't seem like the Roos of Austin College came out prepared, but really early on, a good answer from the Schreiner Mountaineers.
Mountaineers trying to get on the board first, but the first shot no good after a couple of turnovers from each team. Now the Tigers headed the other way. Maggie Shipley with the ball across half court. She has it taken away from her, and then falling on the court, Gabby Ibarra, she couldn't quite hold on. Robbins trying to dish it to Coleman, but another turnover for the Tigers, so both teams turning the ball over here early. We'll see who can get it in the bucket first. Now a minute gone by, still 0-0 here. We had gotten used to some slow starts from the Tigers, but against Austin, it was some of the most energetic basketball we've seen as Ashlyn Milton pulls up a 3, but that one's no good. Wide open court in front of her, and making the layup is Zay Pirtle. So the first 2 points of the evening go to the Mountaineers, and they set up right into this full court pressure. The Tigers able to break it, and Maggie Shipley trying to go to her left with the layup. Just off. Tigers retaining possession, and Coleman finds Milton under the basket, but it's just off. Had a great look right there, nearly going in. Now a jump ball with the possession arrow pointing to Trinity.
Yeah, Brian, in pregame we brought up Haley Coleman's name, such a focal point of the offensive attack on Sunday. Big part of the approach for the Tigers was to stick her in the middle of the court, feed the ball into her, and let her go to work. She did a great job passing to some cutters, but we also saw her go to work one-on-one against the defense by herself. But one of the things I think that she did best in that matchup was the give and go. We saw her give it off to her teammates and immediately make a move to the basket.
And the first bucket for the Tigers is a Maggie Robbins layup under the basket. We saw her post up a little bit and get free. Not used to seeing Maggie Robbins post up, but certainly worked there.
Foul is number 20, Demaria Miles, her first. Team foul number 1.
Tigers with 3 early turnovers, Mountaineers with 4, and this looks like it is another turnover, and it is. Pirtle in the open court. Nice fake there by Miles. The Mountaineers doing a good job early, taking advantage of the turnovers and getting some easy transition buckets. Lemoncello to Coleman. She gets it off the glass and in. Doesn't look like these teams are going to take very much time to go up and down the court.
No, absolutely not, Ryan. One of the first things you notice about this Schreiner side is their patience and their ability to break this half-court press. Much better prepared and much more patient than we saw out of Austin College this weekend.
And there was some nice patience there, getting the ball to Salazar, and she's going to draw the foul and head to the line. You saw Coleman kind of tempting the Mountaineers there, but they did a nice job, and they will go to the free throw line.
The line for 2 is Andrea Salazar.
Salazar, the junior from Rockdale, Texas. She misses her first free throw. The Mountaineers coming off a victory against the same Roos of Austin College that the Tigers beat on Sunday. In fact, these two teams have beaten the same other two teams in their past few games, Centenary and Austin College, respectively. Milton trying to get something going inside. Instead, she gets it out to Lemoncello, who drills the 3. Lemoncello open and knocks it down. So a good start from beyond the arc for her. Mountaineers trying to go quickly the other way, but it is no good, and Robbins with the rebound. And the ball stays with the Tigers.
Ryan, as Lemoncello knocks down that first 3 of the game, such a great sign for the Tigers, who struggled a little bit from distance this past weekend, especially outside the shooting of Ashlyn Milton. So important for other Tigers to start getting hot from behind the arc.
And there is Milton with the 3 herself. And this has to be something the Tigers are happy to see despite the 17-game winning streak, as Milton intercepts a pass. Tigers have struggled from 3. Milton driving to the bucket and gets an easy 2. The Tigers, even in their big victory over Austin College, shooting just 19% from 3. And it's something that has been a concern, but Coach Hill, talking about it earlier today, knows that it will come. Just got to keep shooting. He has players on this team who knock down 3s historically, and so they are not worried about it. And they are also not worried about Haley Coleman open underneath the bucket. Mountaineers don't want to leave her alone. And Milton just all over the place, steals that pass. Shipley misses the layup, but Robbins rebounds it. Lemoncello short on the 3. And a timeout from Schreiner to stop this little run. The Tigers are on 10-0 over the first minute. What a start here from San Antonio. We'll take a quick timeout and be right back on Tiger Network. Welcome back to Tiger Network. Tigers up 14-5 over Schreiner, and already with 6 steals, 3 of them coming from Ashlyn Milton. No surprise to see this. The Tigers ranking 18th in Division III in steals per game, over 13, so almost halfway there in just the first quarter. And here they force yet another turnover as the ball heads out of bounds. The Mountaineers really struggling to keep possession of the ball. Already up to 9 turnovers. And with this stoppage, we get to see the setup of this unique 2-2-1 zone that the Mountaineers deploy. And it works to perfection there as they get a steal. Gabby Ibarra with the steal and then gets all the way to the hoop for 2. Nice play there from the San Antonio native. And Lemoncello responds with a layup of her own. So don't blink in this one or you'll miss plenty of action.
Yeah, Brian, and something about that 2-2-1 zone that we've seen so far is the Mountaineers up on the ball handlers. It's forced Trinity to make some difficult passes. We saw one get picked off a couple of possessions ago, turn into points, but Trinity has done a good job of putting the ball on the floor and dribbling past the press a little bit early on.
Milton puts up another 3, and she knocks that one down. Great start for Milton, already up to 8 points and knocked down 2 threes. Nice move, but Haley Coleman right there to reject it, and Shipley can't quite chase down that pass.
On that last possession for the Mountaineers, Brian, saw them get into that corner and get trapped. That first trap came from the Trinity pressure, full court pressure that we've gotten used to seeing, but the Mountaineers did a better job passing out of that and then advancing the ball up the court. So good signs of life for them in terms of breaking this press.
Ball forced out of bounds there, but it will remain Schreiner possession. Three-pointer well short there for the Mountaineers. That's Peralta, who came up just short. She's newly in the game off the bench. A couple of new names out there for both teams, Kelly Simmons and Julia Ackerman. And for the Mountaineers, first we've seen of Nish McMillan joining Elisa Peralta from Laredo the first year. And Shipley, out of the inbounds play, gets that easy bucket.
Yeah, and a great job by Shipley right there, recognizing that her defender had her back turned to her, cut right off of it to an open spot on the floor and had an easy layup right there.
Yeah, and right there, another turnover, just having the foot on the baseline. And if you're going to beat this Trinity team coming in at 18-2, you have to be just about perfect, and the Mountaineers have been far from it. And it's those little types of mistakes that you just can't afford to have. Julia Ackerman spots up from 3, and a much-needed 3 for Julia Ackerman. She had been 0 for 7 from 3 for the last 2 games, but that hopefully will get her going. We know she is very capable of knocking down 3s in a row. Ackerman gets it over to Leong, who is met in the paint forcefully there with the block was McMillan, and quickly the other way Bugs. So a nice possession there defensively, leading to points for Schreiner. Kelly Simmons nearly has it taken away from behind. Instead, a foul called on the Mountaineers.
Brian, something that you mentioned a couple possessions ago was the entrance of Kelly Simmons into this one, and with that, Haley Coleman hits the bench. I think something that we discussed a little bit, noticed in the action on Sunday, was the fact that the Tigers' offense stalled just a little bit when Haley Coleman was on the bench. Failed to play out of the middle a little bit, so it'll be interesting to see what answer they have to that problem. As you so rightfully point out, Maggie Shipley to the left, always a solid answer for this Tiger offense.
And she continues to be a solid answer, taking the ball away and getting 2 more. So 4 quick points for Shipley, and this lead suddenly up to 15. great to see from this team that we had gotten so used to starting off slow and making the adjustments in the second half before really running away with things. But these past 2 games, quite the start from the Tigers, not giving their opponents even a chance to breathe before they get to San Antonio.
Yeah, Brian, and I think it is that suffocating defense that you can point to as the real catalyst for the Tigers burst out of the gate in the past couple of games.
Suffocating, certainly a good word for this defense, and that's going to be a traveling violation or double dribble. Something was wrong there, but Mountaineers just unable to maintain possession of the ball and get their shots up. They're currently at 12 turnovers and just 13 shot attempts. Maggie Shipley to the bench for the first time. She's replaced by Molly Pretty. Nelson fires it across half court and finds Ackerman, who then gets it to Pretty. Ackerman setting up the offense. Leong finds Simmons, who thinks about a 3 for just a second, instead backs down in the post and gets it to Leong, whose 3 is just short. Mountaineers able to corral the rebound. Miles trying to take it herself the entire way, and she gets that one to go and the foul. Demaria Miles with the court-to-court action. She's coming off a performance with 12 points, 8 rebounds against Austin, and she is the leading scorer for the Mountaineers. Leading scorer as just a first year. And she completes the 3-point play. Nelson's pass unable to connect with her teammate. So the Mountaineers chance to build on their last few possessions. They've scored 3 field goals in a row and make it 4. As Miles really picking it up here. 2 buckets in a row, up to 7 points. Pretty open for 3, just a little off to the left. Rebounded by the Mountaineers, and here they go again. Miles spotting up from mid-range. This time no good. Nelson with the board. She takes it the other way, and Leong gets a lot of contact and somehow gets it to go. Don't know how she maintained that concentration, but she did, and she'll head to the line.
Niche McMillian, her second, team foul number 3. And Rhea Salazar in at the line, Carla Leong. Carla Leong, 3 for the Tigers.
Peralta over to Hernandez. Tigers doing a nice job rotating. Miles to her left. Pass just over the hands of Salazar. You can see right there just a split second that Carly Leong looked away. Miles took advantage of, but then as she got it to her teammate, just a little off. You can see the vision that Miles has.
Yeah, absolutely, Brian. Miles been great for the Mountaineers here the past couple times down the court when they've been able to break this Tiger press, but even then, it doesn't seem like their half-court offense seems to be entirely in sorts right now, but she'll slow it down, bring it up to the top of the key, and get something going for the Mountaineers here.
Yeah, and she did slow it down, and that came after barking orders from head coach Stacy Stevens. She was yelling no, no, no as the Mountaineers were going quickly. She wanted her team to slow things down, and that resulted in Miles stopping in her place and running the half-court offense. It results in a 3-point attempt that's no good, but a second opportunity for the Mountaineers is converted by Salazar. And Coach Stevens and her assistants much happier with that possession. Simmons finds a cutting Leong to her right. She gets it off the glass and in. So Carly Leong, who is so good at dealing with contact and making buckets when she is nearly falling on the court, gets yet another one of those. And now with just 12 seconds in the quarter, Tigers trying to go quickly, but that ball taken away, and then Peralta walks with it. Mountaineers had an opening there.
Yeah, Brian, and they've had some really good opportunities. Saw them pick it up in terms of quality of play in about the last 3 to 4 minutes of this first quarter. But even then, they've left a little bit to be desired at the end of plays. We've seen them push it without running offense a little bit a couple of possessions ago, try and force a pass on the inside when there were 3 Tigers clogging the lane, and then a careless mistake there. So to be in this one in a first quarter where the Tigers put up 33 points, maybe even more here, is a good sign for the Mountaineers and some things that they can certainly build on as they head into the second quarter.
We have reached the end of the first quarter here in San Antonio. Both teams shooting remarkably well. Trinity over 60%, Schreiner at 47%, but it is those turnovers, 15 for the Mountaineers, that has killed them early on. We'll be right back on Tiger Network for the second quarter.
Second quarter, Schreiner ball. Here we go.
Welcome back to Tiger Network. Trinity up 33-20 over Schreiner. Turnover is the story of that first quarter. We'll see what adjustments these two teams make. And the first adjustment is a 3-point basket for Gabby Ibarra.
Brian, for the Mountaineers, that's the first of the game. They only attempted 3 in that first quarter, as opposed to 8 for the Tigers, which we saw them drain 4 of by 3 different players, which exceeds the total that we saw on Sunday.
And they did a great job against Austin College in their previous game, that 92-68 victory, shooting 48% from 3. That's the second highest percentage they've had all year. So expect to see them go to it a little bit more as they try to get back in this game. But Milton answers with a 3 of her own. And Milton on fire from deep. Mountaineers will try to do some catching up with the 3, and they get another one. Miles rattles it home. So both teams battling with the 3s, and now Milton steps into the lane and gets 2 points. So you can see when the press is broken, it can lead to some easy buckets, but it also has led to turnovers, 10 for the Tigers. So it's kind of the give and take with that 2-2-1 zone.
Yeah, Brian, and I think that's an error that we've seen the Mountaineers make a ton in this first half. The Tigers have been able to advance the ball up one side of the court, and that cutter on the opposite side has typically had a clear lane to the basket, and it's concluded in a lot of clear lanes to the basket and a lot of layups for the Tigers so far in this one.
Mountaineers were trying to make it 3 for 3 from 3 in the second quarter. That one was short from Bugs. Mountaineers will get 2 free throws out of it, though, after the offensive rebound from Ibarra. Ibarra, the senior from right here in San Antonio, the East Central graduate. She joins Jocelyn Hernandez, a fellow San Antonio native who went to Wagner High School, as the locals from the Alamo City, so I'm sure they're happy to be here in their hometown family and friends in attendance. That second free throw from Ibarra, no good. Limoncello met with a double team, but she gets it to Robbins. Swings it over to Shipley, who reverses course and then finds an open Milton. Thought about a three instead. Limoncello with the open look, just a little strong. Nearly bounces in. Shipley fights for the offensive rebound, and another opportunity coming up for the Tigers. Pass just off the hands of Coleman. Robbins ends up with it. Her three short. Milton right there, and she gets the bucket to go. So second and third opportunities for the Tigers, leading to points. Mountaineers working so hard defensively to stop this prolific offense. So it has to be just a dagger when you get them to miss not once but twice, and then you still give up points on a possession because of all the offensive rebounds.
2 shots.
Yeah, Ryan, certainly a difficult thing to deal with, especially when you're so quickly faced with the amount of pressure that the Mountaineers have been in the full court. But one answer that I've seen to that so far from them today is being able to get the ball out of the basket quickly and inbounds, not allowing this Tiger defense to set up in that full court pressure.
And it looks like a little bit of an adjustment from the Mountaineers. Instead of a 2-2-1, maybe a little bit of a 3-2 zone. Tigers do get it across. Shipley to her left, deals with the contact from Vieira, and she'll head to the line.
Foul number 10, Alyssa Vieira. And first, foul number 1, Julia Ackerman in for Trinity.
Julia Ackerman back in the game for the Tigers. And she's in with the rest of the starters, Coleman, Limoncello, Shipley, and Robbins. Shipley's first free throw is good. Maggie Shipley averaging nearly 16 points a game. Second in the SCAC. Her second free throw no good, but the Mountaineers yet again turn it over, giving it to the Tigers.
Brian, for the Mountaineers, Miles has gone to the bench. First thing you look at in the box score is the fact that she has 10 for her team so far.
And Ackerman drills another three.
But in addition to Miles' scoring proficiency so far here in this one, she's done or played a huge role in bringing the ball up the court for Schreiner. So as she heads to the bench, it'll be interesting to watch and see how this Trinity pressure in the full court continues to affect the Mountaineers.
Absolutely, and we mentioned it on her first three, but now Ackerman 2 for 2, maybe getting on a little bit of a roll after going 0 for 8 in her last 2 games and not making a three-pointer since January 15th. Now, she missed several games during that stretch, but has to feel good for Ackerman to see the ball go through the hoop. And there she is, open again. Shipley finds her. Ackerman decides against taking another shot, and it'll result in a turnover. But Ackerman getting going from 3 would be such a valuable asset for this team.
In for Trinity, Ashlyn Milton.
Limoncello heads to the bench, replaced by Ashlyn Milton. Maggie Robbins punches the ball out. It'll remain with Schreiner. It is Peralta tasked with getting the ball in, and no easy task against this full court pressure. So much attention has to be placed on just getting the ball in, and you can see how difficult it is. And a 10-second violation called on the Mountaineers. Looks like they were a little unaware of the clock with those couple of stoppages.
Yeah, Brian, when you're already struggling to get the ball up the court, dealing with the pressure of the Tigers defense, you have to be mindful in situations like that. Can't afford things like 10-second calls in the backcourt.
Ashlyn Milton cuts in and nearly gets that one to go. You could hear the Tigers bench yelling, Ashlyn, Ashlyn, and she was there. One thing about this Tigers team and coaches, very vocal from the bench, and we can hear them from up here in the broadcast booth. Not quite like volleyball when we were down on the court, but still hear plenty from up here. Milton knocks down her first free throw. And the second one good as well for Milton, who leads all scorers with 16 points. Fantastic start for the junior from Amarillo. Ackerman might have gotten a piece of that one, couldn't quite tell, but it was well short. Tigers running the other way. Shipley forced to go to her right and then pick up the ball, looking for some help. Peralta with good defense on her. Does eventually find Coleman. Ackerman with 12 on the shot clock, spots up from the free throw line. Jump shot no good. Despite that miss, Tigers still shooting an incredible 58% from the floor, resulting in this 17-point lead. Bugs having some trouble underneath the bucket there against Coleman. And here comes Maggie Robbins, takes it all the way. Her little floater just strong. Peralta finds the open three-point shooter, Vieira. Her three is no good. Coleman didn't quite see that pass. She gets it anyway, and there is Ackerman open for three, and it is good. Julia Ackerman, 3 for 3 from beyond the arc, and you see who is right there to greet her, Coach Cameron Hill at half court to give Julia Ackerman a high five. Must be feeling good, and everyone in CalGuard Gym rooting for the Tigers, certainly feeling good as well. Trinity up 49-29 as we head to a break here on Tiger Network. Welcome back to Tiger Network, where the Trinity Tigers are on a 9-0 run here in the second quarter. Their lead has ballooned to 20 points, and Schreiner trying to claw their way back into this one before it gets completely out of control. Ibarra trying to spark the way. She does a nice job getting it to her teammate for the bucket, Salazar.
A nice job of breaking the press right there by the Mountaineers, Brian, but revisiting that play that we saw, that make from Julia Ackerman in the open court right before we went to break, looked like the Tigers had a transition opportunity. So for Haley Coleman to have the presence of mind to find the hot hand, and for Ackerman to step into that one with such confidence is a really great start for the Tigers, who've struggled from three-point range outside of that girl right there, Ashlyn Milton, been the Tigers' leader, sharpshooter from the outside.
Yeah, there certainly is no struggling from three for Ashlyn Milton. In fact, she comes in fourth in the conference in three-point percentage at 40%. and she is 4 for 5 from 3 today. Already 20 points in this first half alone. She is on her way for quite the stat line if she keeps it up. Little confusion here. Referees coming to the table.
The foul is on number 30, Ashlyn Milton.
Clarifying that that was a foul on Ashlyn Milton.
Foul number 4.
Bugs trying to find some help. Shipley nearly taking the ball away from her. Peralta now using the double screen, finding some room, but there is Haley Coleman for yet another block. Shipley the other way. Leong cutting in. Shipley ends back up with it, and she gets it off the glass and in. And then another foul on Leong right after that.
That last possession from the Mountaineers, you pointed out that double screen action up top that got Schreiner guard into the paint, but going against Haley Coleman one-on-one hasn't proved very fruitful for many guards that the Tigers have faced this year. There wasn't anyone else there joining the Mountaineer. Neither of those screeners rolled to the basket, so I think moving forward, adjustments will need to be made by the Mountaineers. Other people will have to fill the paint, give them some other options outside of going one-on-one against Haley Coleman.
Yeah, because you're right. That certainly hasn't worked. Coleman with 3 blocks already. Peralta knocks down both of her free throws. She has 4 points on just 1 of 7 from the field. Milton facing some pressure from Bugs, but she gets it over to Milton. Simmons to her right, spins, tries to get it to Coleman. Ball will remain with the Tigers. 6 seconds left on the shot clock, so we'll see what the Tigers draw up here. Shipley over to Milton in the corner, and why would you go anywhere else? Ashlyn Milton with yet another 3-pointer. Seems like the easy option at this point. Going the other way is Salazar. She gets 2, but there is Coleman all by herself.
Yeah, Brian, in that last possession, Milton does certainly seem like the easy option. As she comes away with the steal, makes the unselfish pass underneath the basket. Shipley unable to finish the layup. On that last Milton make, certainly not a bad contest from this Mountaineer defense. She's just feeling it at this point. Even a hand in her face isn't slowing her down.
Shipley having trouble in the backcourt. Bugs providing plenty of pressure. And a timeout called to save this opportunity. Just 1 second left before a 10-second violation would be called. So the Tigers will try to draw something up out of the timeout. We'll take a quick break on Tiger Network and be right back. Welcome back to Tiger Network. Julia Ackerman will have to get it across half court or else it'll be a violation, and she finds Nelson to keep things alive for Trinity. Nelson's pass knocked away, but will stay with Trinity. Coleman going one-on-one on Ibarra. And not many people you trust more going one-on-one than Haley Coleman. She shows you why right there. Quietly up to 10 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 blocks. So having herself quite the game already. Trinity up to 63 points, still 2 minutes left in the first half. Nearly a walk there on Bugs, but the Mountaineers retain it. 3-pointers short from Hernandez. And Hernandez, a name we have yet to call other than the mention that she's from here in San Antonio, Wagner High School. Hernandez led with 17 points against Austin College, went 5 for 9 from 3-point range. But today, she has 0 points up on the board, and she has missed all 4 of her 3-pointers.
Ryan, as you stated a moment ago, Coleman quietly up to 10 points, and you put the emphasis on quietly. I think it brings up a great point in the fact that Haley Coleman's not an individual that needs to dominate the basketball in order to have success for this team. I think that's one of the biggest upsides of this group of Tigers this season is the fact that they play so well off of each other and they rely on each other to thrive in scenarios like this. In a first half where they've already put up 63 points.
Yeah, and I think a perfect example of what you're talking about is there are moments when Coleman completely dominates a game, like Sunday when she scored 12 points in the first half, 10 of those coming seemingly in the first couple of minutes, and then she didn't score in the second half. But the Tigers didn't have any issue. They got performances from Shipley, Milton, and others. But like you said, just anybody can contribute on any given night. And it often goes under the radar, but then at the end of the night, the result is there. It's what makes this team so talented. They look to be well on their way to win number 18 in a row, and certainly we'll get there if Shipley continues to find room to her left. Shipley now in double digits as well. She joins Coleman and Milton. Meanwhile, for Schreiner, it is just Miles with 13 points. She's been the most efficient shooter for the Schreiner Mountaineers. Peralta trying to find something from 3-point range. Short once again, 30 seconds left in the first half. Nelson slows things down, trying to get nearly the last shot of the half. We'll see if Simmons had different plans, just trying to get rid of it, then posting up, down low. She faces a triple team, has to put it up to no avail. Mountaineers trying to get something before the clock runs out, and they will get 2. There is Jocelyn Hernandez with her first points of the evening. And that one will not count. Tigers gonna take a 25-point lead into the half. 65 points on the board for the 20th ranked Tigers. Quite the performances from their stars. Ashlyn Milton, 23 points, going 5 for 6 from 3-point range. Maggie Shipley adding 11 points, and Haley Coleman adding 10. Luke started quickly, ended quickly. This has been a flurry of a first half.
Absolutely, Brian. If you're the Mountaineers, you look up at the scoreboard, you got to be kind of proud of yourselves for putting up 40 points in a single half. But you look out the other side of it, and you see that Trinity has 65 up on the board already. It's certainly daunting. They came out, they made the adjustments early on, but as Trinity did this weekend as well, they adjust to the adjustments that their opponents make. They continue to add in wrinkles defensively and offensively, and this is the result that you get more often than not when you approach games in such a manner.
With those 65 points, the Tigers are perfectly on pace to surpass 100 points. I don't know, it is Taco Tuesday. Will we get free tacos at 100? You'll have to find out and see. We'll be right back after this 14-minute halftime.
For more than 150 years, Trinity University has celebrated human inquiry. Our innovative curriculum is rooted in a distinctive blend of the liberal arts and sciences. Students and faculty hone creative curiosity by answering questions and questioning answers. In a supportive, interdisciplinary environment, they seek ways to build bridges and make connections. And with intentional meaning and purpose, they are driven by a sense of duty to themselves and to the world. Add in opportunities for undergraduate research, experiential learning, and nationally recognized pre-professional programs in business, communication, healthcare, education, and entrepreneurship, you get the full Trinity experience. The liberal arts plus. And while this experience may end with a Trinity degree, it's just the beginning of a lifetime of inspired exploration and perpetual discovery.
Starting in the second half for Schreiner, 11 is Ailey Purtle, 15, Gabby Ibarra, 20, Tamaria Miles, 23, Rhea Salazar, 24, Jocelyn Hernandez, and for Trinity, 11, Maggie Robbins, 20, Emily Mancello, 25, Haley Coleman, 30.
Hello again, Tiger fans. Welcome back to Tiger Network, where if you think the Tigers put up a lot of points in the first half, you would be correct. Not only is it the most points they've put up in a single half this year, it is the most points they have put up in a half since at least 2003. So quite the explosion of points here for the Tigers. Mountaineers doing little to resist this high-powered offense. Coming into the game, Trinity ranking first in the SCAC, but even better than that, 10th in the entire nation at just over 78 points per game, but they got to that in nearly the first half alone. Luke, it was quite the showing.
Yeah, absolutely, Brian. As we talked about in the pregame, it really started on the defensive end for these Tigers, like it usually does. That pressure in the backcourt causes so many turnovers that turn into easy buckets for them. Really settles the nerves right out of the gate, and just an awesome start, an awesome basis for this offense to get going from.
We will see if Schreiner made any adjustments to slow down the Tigers. Right here, Tigers moving the ball around well. Shot clock down to 15. Coleman trying to post up down low. Instead, Shipley ends up down there. Limoncello stopped. Coleman with 2 seconds. And before that, she traveled. So nice job there by the Mountaineers defensively. We'll see if there's more of that to come in this second half.
Yeah, certainly right about that, Brian. At times, we saw some individuals on this Mountaineer defense really step up and play some really good pressure on-ball defense. But that time, it was a full team effort, closing out on shooters and keeping in front of the ball handlers of this Tiger offense.
Shipley fakes the three, draws the defense in, and there is Haley Coleman wide open. So you see the danger that Maggie Shipley presents, drawing the attention, and then Coleman ends up alone for the easy bucket. So many weapons for this Tigers team. In the corner, three is no good from Ibarra, and Shipley quickly the other way. Coleman running the floor, and another layup for Haley Coleman. So the answer looks to be no about slowing down this offense, at least in these first 2 minutes. Schreiner not doing terribly offensively when it comes to shooting. They're shooting over 40%. Before that, Haley Coleman block, number 4 of the evening for her. But it is the 21 turnovers that are just killing the Mountaineers. And it's nothing new either for this team as they draw the charge. Shipley going in hard. She'll be called for the offensive foul. Schreiner with at least 20 turnovers in 12 of their 21 games this year. Somehow they've been able to make up for that with their shooting, averaging over 68 points per game, but 20 turnovers in so many games is not a way to win games. Nice move there from Ibarra. Little Euro step on Coleman. You could hear the whoops from her bench. Nice move. And then a travel forced on the other end, so a little life for the Mountaineer bench. You're certainly not going to go through Coleman, so that time Ibarra found a way to get around her.
Brian, there's been a lack of consistency on this end of the court for the Mountaineers. Ibarra coming off of a great move, passed the ball up with an opportunity to slash to the basket again, and obviously a good result for the Mountaineers, knocking down a three-pointer from the outside, but they've shied away from the things that have been working for them at times, and that's just not a recipe for success.
And there really have been things working for them this year. They come in 11-10 on the year, but even better, 8-4 in conference play. They've won 3 in a row, and they're looking for their 3rd straight winning season in the SCAC. It's a program that has really turned around over the last few years. Stacy Stevens is in her 1st season as head coach, as Coleman backs down her defender Salazar for yet another bucket. 6 points early in the second half for her. But Stacy Stevens hoping to build on the momentum the Mountaineers have had over the past couple of years. She comes from a lot of experience. She played in the WNBA with the Houston Comets, and just up the road, up I-35 in Austin, she is in the UT Women's Hall of Honor. She ranks 2nd all-time in UT Austin history in rebounds and games started. And that's for the Division I Texas Longhorns. So plenty of experience coming to Kerrville. And Coach Hill earlier today was talking about how impressed he's been with the Mountaineers this season and hopes that they can keep up the momentum they're building. But today it's just been too tough a task to deal with these Tigers. Another steal here, Lemoncello, and the Tigers running all over the court here, finding everything they want. Robbins cutting in, finds Milton, and the Tigers bench going wild. You see them hopping up and down. Coach Hill, the happiest among them. There is just no stopping this train.
Absolutely not, Ryan, and especially coming out of the locker room after that halftime break. Such an important point in the game. We've talked about it in the last couple of games we've called together. Those first couple of minutes of the half, and the last couple of minutes of the half being so crucial to grab momentum as Haley Coleman puts that one up and in. Tigers just clicking on all cylinders right here. Came out of halftime full steam, not letting off the gas pedal at all.
And you know this has to be fun for them too. I mean, they are just so pumped up after every bucket. It's a team that can really do no wrong right now.
Absolutely. I think you see it not only from the performance and the emotion on the court. Haley Coleman obviously pumped up with her teammate after that and one. Nice pass that found her open underneath the basket. But when you have a coach on the sideline that's as ecstatic as Coach Hill has been, teammates that are willing to jump out of their seats for you when they make you see a huge play, it's an incredibly fun environment to be part of.
And on the other end, just has to be demoralizing for the Mountaineers. Already down so big at the half, and then you just face this burst of energy coming out of the locker room, leaving you with really no shot in this game. The deficit has swelled to 35 for the Tigers, and Schreiner will call a timeout. We'll take a break. Tigers up 80-45. Welcome back to Tiger Network. You might hear Lupe Fiasco's "The Show Goes On" in the background. And just like he says, the show does go on for these Tigers. They are right back at it tomorrow, hosting the Texas Lutheran Bulldogs, and they will be joined by the men's team. They are off tonight, but they will be in action tomorrow. So a doubleheader, Texas Lutheran against Trinity. We'll have it right here on Tiger Network. With how they're playing, Tigers probably want to play every night. And Maggie Robbins with floor ahead of her, no problem. This is now a 13-0 run over the past 2 minutes, and that timeout just ahead of the break came right before the media timeout, so they're going to take another break on the floor. Luke, this is a team that has gone through a lot this year, early in January, late December, dealing with a lot of in and out, didn't know who was starting on any given night, but they fought through that, have kept this win streak intact, and they are on the verge of 18 victories in a row. It's just remarkable what this team has done.
Yeah, absolutely, Brian. Start the season 1 and 2. A couple of tough losses on the road against some ranked opponents. As you mentioned, players in and out of the lineups at times during this season. But I think the result of that is what you see here tonight. It's a team that's stronger because of those things. Something we talked about on Sunday. It's a group that's confident in running out any 5 individuals and putting forth their best effort and believing that it's going to be enough to get them the win.
Yeah, those early losses were to some really good teams at the time. East Texas Baptist ranked number 2 in the nation, and Hardin-Simmons ranked 14. Now it is the Tigers who are ranked in the top 20 at number 20 exactly. One of 3 Texas teams, UMHB, who the Tigers actually defeated, and East Texas Baptist does remain ranked. And those are some teams that you might be hearing some of if the Tigers do qualify for the NCAA tournament. The ASC is who the SCAC often gets to play in the regional round. Could it be in San Antonio? We don't know, possibly. Could also be up in Belton. But we will have to see. Tigers have to get there first. And if they continue shooting like they are tonight, shouldn't be a problem. Ashlyn Milton right there with the putback layup. She's up to 27 points. And the Tigers might get to 100 in this quarter. Trying anything to stop the bleeding, but the Mountaineers just cannot. Ackerman slows things down a little bit. Leong finds an open Milton. Don't know why you'd leave her open tonight, and she makes them pay again. 30 points for Ashlyn Milton.
And with that, Brian, I believe Milton moves into first place for the team in terms of season high. Previously, Maggie Shipley had that honor with 29 points earlier on this year. But Milton catching fire from deep tonight has sparked this outburst for her.
Mountaineers wanting a turnover under the basket there. Instead, Ackerman puts up a 3. That one just off. That's her first miss of the evening. And then a foul called on the Tigers.
Molly Trinity in. Trinity. There's a ball for Schreiner. Ball number 32, Carly Leon, her second.
All 5 starters now out of the game for the Tigers, and you have to imagine that's the last we've seen from them. With this big lead that's nearly up to 40, and nearly at the end of the third quarter, likely to see these new names, not only the second rotation, but beyond that, some more reserves coming in later in the game, getting some playing time.
Yeah, Brian, I'm sure you're absolutely correct about that, especially after we saw the Tigers play 2 games in a row this past weekend due to some poor weather here in San Antonio. We'll play in another back-to-back, second end of it being tomorrow, as you mentioned, here in Calgar Gym.
Definitely will help to get some rest. And Carly Leong not resting herself, going straight to the bucket, still attacking, and something you're probably going to see as this game comes to an end. In a conversation earlier in the year that we had with Coach Hill, as Leong misses her first free throw, explaining that he and Coach Shotland's philosophy on remaining right on the pedal is that these players deserve just as much a chance as the starters to be in the flow of the game, play at the speed that Trinity plays. You never know when their name is going to be called. in a big situation, say a SCAC tournament, NCAA tournament. And so even with the big lead, you're not going to see them slow down at all. You might see some new players out there, but those new players will get just as much a chance to score and do well as the starters. So we'll see what they can come up with. Schreiner with a couple of buckets in a row here. Ackerman, though, with the cross-court pass finds Simmons. And we are 10 points away from possibly tacos, Luke.
Brian, that last point you bring up, these players coming into this game, getting the opportunity to play and push and not take that foot off the gas pedal, obviously important when you look in the context of the potential for them to come into games forbidding any injury or anything of that sort. But in addition to that, we talked earlier in this game about the role that some of these players play on the bench and the energy they bring through that capacity of the game. So in that regard, they are more than deserving of getting out here and getting able to play the game of basketball.
This is definitely a team with, you could argue, 8, 9, or 10 players who could start at any given point, and Coach Hill would feel fully confident in them. Just that they have to pick 5 every night, and it's been the same 5, but the 5 currently out there can score, can shoot from 3, and provide the same amount of fight that the starters do. 8 seconds left on the shot clock here, and Carly Leong knocks down her first 3 of the evening.
On that possession, Brian, we saw a number of Tigers with the ball in their hands, an opportunity to shoot it. Time after time, they passed up a fairly open shot, and in the end, found Carly Leong in the corner for a great shot. She knocked it down.
And Leong, feeling good about herself, continues to rack up the points. She's up to double digits now, 11 for the transfer from Pomona. Open 3, no good there from Hernandez. But she gets the rebound, kicks it out to Miles. Her 3 off as well. 10 seconds remaining here in the third quarter. Hernandez able to get the steal. Peralta unable to complete the layup, then gets another shot, and it does bounce in. So a high note for the Mountaineers, but a quarter that featured Trinity going absolutely ballistic. Their 3rd consecutive quarter with over 30 points finds them at 95 with 10 minutes still remaining. They are shooting an astronomical 61%, would be by far their season high. We'll see if they can keep it up in this fourth quarter. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on Tiger Network. Well, Luke, we were clearly wrong, because to start the fourth quarter, here are all 5 starters for the Tigers. They want free tacos. They want to get to 100. That has to be the explanation for it.
Ryan, as much as you talk about free tacos, I'm convinced that you're not opposed to this whatsoever.
Yeah, and some people say we might get free corn dogs. I mean, maybe they're switching it up on us. I'm not sure exactly what's going on, but we're almost about to find out.
No matter the situation, you can't really complain in this context. getting to watch these Tigers out on the floor right now is remarkably fun, as they, as we have mentioned time and time again, continue to bring the energy no matter what the circumstance is in this game.
Fun is the perfect way to describe it, but fun is the opposite of how the Mountaineers feel every time they have to come here to Trinity, as Coleman finds an open limoncello and Milton trying to inch us closer to 100, just off. But the Mountaineers, every time they see they're coming to Trinity, have to wince at that fact. Last time they won here at Trinity, December 4th, 1993. So it has been a while. I know you and I were not born in 1993. All these players were not born. I don't know if Joe Shotland was born, assistant coach for Trinity. We'd have to check the date on that, but it certainly has been a while. Last time this Schreiner team beat Trinity in general was back in 2016. That was up in Kerrville. But always a difficult time for the Mountaineers here in the Alamo City.
Yeah, Brian, but as we discussed in some of the games this past weekend, even when you're down and the outcome of a game is certain, as it is in this scenario, when you have 8 minutes left on the game clock, it's important not to just throw in the towel, as we've seen the Mountaineers fail to do so far here. They've continued to play, they've made some strides, and they're off to a good start in this fourth quarter.
And they look to keep that good start going as they are in transition here. Peralta pulls up, makes a nice little jump shot. So 6 points in a row, 6-0 run in the last 40 seconds for the Mountaineers. Limoncello to Milton in the corner, and Milton says, bring on the tacos. 102 points for the Tigers, matches their season high. The student section going wild. And off of that, crossing the century mark, reserves getting ready to check in, but not before one last layup by Haley Coleman, officially making this the highest scoring game for the Tigers of the year. I have been told to direct any comments about tacos to Harrison Lalone, Justin Parker, or Jordan Deadweiler. They're the people who would know if we can get some free tacos, so please check in with them if you're watching at home. I think we should get him, Luke. Who would be opposed?
I think you'd be hard-pressed to find anyone opposed to your suggestion of free tacos for 100 points, especially with the frequency that these programs, both the men's and women's, have been able to cross that century mark this year.
It would be such a San Antonio thing. We could make them breakfast tacos, welcome anybody to our campus, show them what San Antonio's all about, give them some bean and cheese tacos. I promise you we will investigate and we will get to the bottom of this issue. But it'll have to wait 6 minutes and 55 seconds. That is the time remaining in this one. The starters now out of the game once again. Have to imagine this time for good, but we will see. Several starters still out there for the Mountaineers, and one of them is Demaria Miles, who knocks down yet another three. She has had a spectacular day for herself. Despite her team struggles, she has not. She is up to 18 points, 7 for 12 from the field, and the Mountaineers running the other way can't get that layup to go. Miles, though, trying to save it. There's that effort you're talking about, but saves it to the Tigers. Ackerman with the bounce pass to Simmons.
Yeah, that's been something we've seen out of the Tigers a lot in transition today, Brian. Just a refusal to put the ball on the floor opting rather to pass it. Just a much more efficient way of advancing the ball up the court and results in really beautiful plays like that one right there. But the point you were mentioning before, the play of Miles for the Mountaineers tonight has really been a bright spot for this team. Unfortunately, she took a long rest during that second quarter. It was a point in which Trinity was able to pull ahead a little bit further than they already were. And since she re-entered this game, they just haven't been able to reestablish themselves. And every Tiger has had it going as Molly Pretty hits one from the outside.
I think to your point, Luke, there is a lot to be excited about in Kerrville if you're a Mountaineers fan, as Carly Leong runs the floor, fakes out Bugs, and gets to herself. But the leading contributors for the Mountaineers, talked about Miles with 18, but you also have Elise Peralta with 10 points, and both those players are first years. So a bright future ahead for them, certainly. And you look at this roster, just 3 seniors, and really their main contributors are either first years or sophomores and juniors, so plenty to be excited about in Kerrville. And right here, as the teams take a break on the floor, the final media timeout, we get a look at the standings. Schreiner does come into today with an 8-4 record. They are fighting for a first-round bye in the SCAC tournament. They are in the 3rd seed, 2 games behind TLU. So still plenty to play for in this regular season before this tournament heads up to Sherman. This is just going to be one they want to forget.
Yeah, absolutely. But still a little under 5 minutes here on which, or during which, they can look to improve. They can look to knock down some more shots. We've seen a huge improvement from them in this last quarter. And some individuals that can certainly look to get going. Obviously, we've discussed Miles. We've thrown her name out there a ton tonight, but Avara currently on the bench for the Mountaineers is another name, a starter for this squad, and one of the few seniors that you pointed out on the roster. So there'll be a couple of people that they'll certainly look to get going in the last couple of minutes, hoping that they can continue as they conclude their SCAC season and head into that SCAC tournament looking for a bye.
And if you don't believe us when we say coming out to CalGuard Gym is fun, just look at everyone joining in on the YMCA. You saw Ava Lemoncello and Maggie Robbins leading the way. Saw them in maybe dining hall just before the game. They were getting some spaghetti and meatballs, so you know the magic trick to their performance. They said they had to load up on the carbs, and look what it results in. 112 points. If you too want to score like this, get some spaghetti and meatballs. I will certainly not say no to that. I know we've talked about tacos so much, but spaghetti is okay too. Currently in the game for the Tigers and knocking down a 3, because why wouldn't she, is Danielle Davalos. Davalos has made a couple of appearances in a row now after not playing since November. She made her first field goal on Sunday since November 6th, and now she makes her first three-pointer of the season. The Tigers up to 64% from beyond the arc. Coming into today, we talked about it as an issue, but at least for tonight, that issue has been solved.
Yeah, Brian, with that last three-point field goal made, the Tigers surpass the previous mark that they set on the year of 13. They now sit at 14 three-point field goals made. But the difference here in this one is that they've done it on only 22 attempts, as you mentioned before, shooting above 60% from 3. A game where they made 13 earlier in the year, they did so on over 30 attempts from 3. So obviously great to see them falling, but even better to see them falling with such efficiency.
Yeah, they came into today shooting 28% from 3. 28%. They're at 64. And like you said, not on just a few attempts. 22 attempts, hitting 14 of them. So it has been quite the coming out party for these Tigers. Hopefully the type of game that gets them going from beyond the arc. And it couldn't come at a more perfect time heading into this home stretch of the regular season and going into the SCAC tournament where an automatic bid to the NCAA playoffs will be on the line. The Tigers last year winning the conference tournament, but not getting to go as there was no basketball playoffs, but it will be back this year, and the Tigers hope to be there. Their last appearance back in 2019, where they had an early first round exit, after losing right here to UT Dallas, and they would love another opportunity to make some noise in March. Both the men's and women's teams here at Trinity hoping to have some March Madness of their own.
Yeah, Brian, certainly both teams looking to make the tournament this season. As that three rims out for the Tigers. Certain that the roof on this place would have blown off if that one had fallen for Trinity, but both programs, both the men and women, just with an extraordinary showing this season, both sitting atop the standings in the SCAC. But the month of March will be incredibly exciting beyond the basketball court, outside of Calgar Gymnasium.
Would be an incredible sight to have an NCAA regional here. I know fans have been itching to be back in the stands, and that would be the perfect excuse to come out and support the Tigers. Brittany Goodwin spots up from the free throw line. Her jump shot just a little off. Three-pointer there, no good from Vieira. Offensive rebound, though, will go to the Mountaineers. And we've thrown a lot of numbers at you, but there's plenty to talk about, and looks like yet another record has been broken. According to the team records, the Tigers' most points in a single game had been 110 back in 2003. So they have flown past that with 120 points this evening. A truly historic night for the Tigers. Just a minute and a half remains here in San Antonio. Davalos thinking about another three. Instead, she drives and travels along the way. Ball knocked away, taken away by Davalos. Nelson in the open floor gets it to Beck, who's unable to convert. And the clock reaches a minute. Can't tick fast enough if you're the Mountaineers, but they will stop the clock as they head to the line. Mentioned the Tigers have a couple of home games remaining here. So they play TLU tomorrow night, and they play Southwestern on Saturday before going up to Kerrville to face these same Mountaineers on the 15th. And they will wrap up the regular season against the Dallas Crusaders on the 20th before heading to Sherman for the SCAC tournament. Meanwhile, Mountaineers going to try to forget this one quickly as they head up to Dallas on Saturday. Their final three games are against Dallas, Trinity, and Dallas, so they will see some familiar opponents. Emily Nelson directing traffic one last time. She gets it into Brittany Goodwin, tries to put on a spin move, but the ball knocked away. This is head coach Cameron Hill's 10th season as head coach of Trinity, as Emily Nelson steals it one more time. and gets it in one more time. They're going to go to the bitter end. But Cameron Hill, in his 10th season, has never won fewer than 20 games in his tenure at Trinity. And they're about to reach win number 19. But during this streak, they will increase the winning streak to 18 victories in a row. And that will mark the longest winning streak here at Trinity since 1991, since Trinity joined the SCAC. 18 wins in a row.
Yeah, Brian, and certainly a remarkable feat, and surely a sign of a truly special season. We talk about it time and time again. The fact that this team is a little bit different in the way they've approached things. But results like this go to show you how beneficial their approach to the game this season has ultimately been.
It has been an incredible approach this season, a well-deserved standing ovation from the students and parents here at Trinity. Tigers wrap up a 122-75 victory over Schreiner. All sorts of records broken. They get their most points all time at 122, and they also shoot the best field goal percentage in school history, 66%. They shoot 61% from three. Just so many numbers to bring to you. Ashlyn Milton with a career high 33 points. She shot 7 of 8 from beyond the arc. Haley Coleman recorded 21 points, adding 8 rebounds, 4 assists, and 4 blocks. So the reigning SCAC Player of the Week continues her dominance. Maggie Shibley adding 18, Carly Leong in double digits at 13. Just solid performances everywhere you look. For the Mountaineers, the bright spots coming from Demara Miles, 20 points for her. Salazar ends up with 10, and Elise Peralta with 10 as well. Luke, I know we've gotten to talk a lot during this game, but what are your final takeaways after this absolutely dominating performance?
Well, Brian, it's really been a trial by committee for this Trinity team. They had 14 different players check into the game tonight. 12 of them scored. They had almost 3 players score, not only in double digits, but almost hit 20 points. And the 3 of them were incredibly efficient from the field. Coleman shooting a perfect 10 for 10 on the night. Milton, 12 of 17, including 7 of 8 from deep. And Shipley with a quiet 18 points on 8 of 12 shooting. The 3 of them were outstanding. But again, you have to point to the way that this team came out of the gate. They were energetic right from the jump, and that seemed to be one of the most beneficial things for this Tiger side.
You never know what you're going to see when you tune in to Tiger Network or come out to CalGuard Gym. And tonight, what we saw, history made in San Antonio. Tigers with their 18th consecutive victory, and they put on a show. We hope you will join us again tomorrow night. Men tip-off at 6, women right after, scheduled for 8. For Luke Terry and everyone in our control room, thank you for joining us. I'm Brian Yanselson. Have a wonderful night.
For more than 150 years, Trinity University has celebrated human inquiry. Our innovative curriculum is rooted in a distinctive blend of the liberal arts and sciences. Students and faculty hone creative curiosity by answering questions and questioning answers. In a supportive, interdisciplinary environment, they seek ways to build bridges and make connections. And with intentional meaning and purpose, they are driven by a sense of duty to themselves and to the world. Add in opportunities for undergraduate research, experiential learning, and nationally recognized pre-professional programs in business, communication, healthcare, education, and entrepreneurship, you get the full Trinity experience. The liberal arts plus. And while this experience may end with a Trinity degree, it's just the beginning of a lifetime of inspired exploration and perpetual discovery.